Hey guys, this is Coach Derek, co-host of the Soapboxing Podcast. Man, ever since I found this Anchor app, I tell you, podcasting has become a lot simpler and a lot easier to do. They distribute the podcast over several platforms, and you have to do no work. I tell you, man, if you're interested in doing podcasting, you need to download the Anchor app. That's ANCHOR.FM. You can get started today with the Anchor app and do whatever your heart desires. Hey guys, this is Coach Derek. I want to give a shout out to our new sponsor, Pueblo Boxing. Y'all be sure to check out Pueblo Boxing. They have unique and high quality boxing gear and novelty gifts. You can find the gear at soloboxing.com. That's SOLO boxing.com. Check it out, man. They do quality work.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment is here. The main event of the evening. I'm Jeremiah Gallegos, your world-class ring announcer, to introduce Soapboxing Podcast. And now, to introduce your host, Derek, a.k.a. Coach. And across the ring, introducing Manny Fresh. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's golden time. Time to tune in.
Some fighters say, "Well, I don't watch videos of the guy I'm fighting. I let the coach watch it." This, hey, man.
Guys, one thing we know for sure about Wilder, he hit you clean. Right, and this woman whooped the whole world twice. The whole world.
Good morning. What's going on, YouTube? It is your boy Manny Fresh, along with the Big Bad Wolf, Derek.
What's going on, man?
We are live in another episode of Soapboxing Podcast, live here in Houston, Texas, and we are super excited. We missed you guys last week. We were busy taking care of business, though. Congratulations to the Houston Hitman, Robert Redmond, for bringing home the belt, the ABO Junior welterweight title. It was a phenomenal show. Shout out to his opponent as well. They both showed up and put on a great show, man. So today we are super excited. We have Big Dog Lukey from the In the Ring Boxing. Brother, we appreciate you coming on the show. You out in California, huh? What time is it over there?
It's like 8:30.
Oh man, we got you up early today, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on, man. How you doing?
Shoot, I'm good. You know, anything for Coach Derek. That's a real one. You seem like a great guy. Just wanted to help out. Not that I'm helping out the show, but I wanted to jump on, man. Big fan of the show. Well,
you know what? You've been doing this for a while, brother, and I was checking out your page. I subscribed. I'm a fan. You got a great thing going over there. Tell us a little about your YouTube channel. You do a lot of podcasts. You do interviews. You do documentaries. How did you get started with this, man? And how's the journey been coming along?
Okay, I mean, I'll kind of keep it short so we can just talk mess on boxing. Basically, I was just around gyms. I've been boxing and stuff. Kind of similar story to most people, just like life wasn't working. Just went back to the gyms. I was in there. And nobody was asking friends questions about fighters I saw around. One in particular was Kareem Hard Hit of Mayfield. It might not mean a lot to people outside of my area, but to me it was like nobody was filming dude, really. And it's like he just sparred Pacquiao and he gave Pacquiao a hard camp, and then he comes back to where I am and no one cares. So it's like that's Superman on TV, and we're like cheering for him. So I basically got the battery in my back because I just knew a lot of fighters, and then like guys like Andy Vences, Bilal Mahassan, and then I just kind of figured it out on the fly, you know?
Nice.
That's it.
Well,
I like this new media. I like it because of it exposes the nonsense too. But then boxing insiders, people who's around the sport, around the gym, around fighters, and have relationships, they can give these fighters, a little shine, and no telling what to catch on fire. And we all know, like with mainstream media, growing up, being a 70s baby, if the primetime channels and shit didn't pick y'all, ESPN didn't cover you, nobody knew nothing about fighters. And here's the thing, people worship fighters like their favorite team, but it ain't no team, man. It ain't no facility that's catering to them and getting them ready for the next game, and I like how podcasts and guys like Luke and everybody else, how they giving these fighters who deserve every little piece of attention they can get, is giving them a new, a new outlet. I guess it's been for a couple of years now, but man, it's beautiful for boxing, and people are going straight to YouTube and podcasts and stuff to find out information about their favorite fighters and making them even bigger fans. I love it.
Just to add to that, like I'm from the Bay Area, and there's a big rap culture out here that was out of the trunk, like Too Short, all these artists. So I kind of, not to say that like I'm viewing my show like a hip hop show, but I'm bringing that mentality that I saw young people around me where they didn't look for an opportunity. We're creating our opportunity. So it's like if these big boxers, these big media outlets don't want to mess with me, then I'm going to go get a smaller fighter and do a great interview with him and make people want to watch that interview. We don't need the big fighter. So that's like kind of my mentality with what I'm doing.
And that's what we had in mind when we started this show. We just wanted to give a platform to all the local fighters, coaches, promoters, people that have been in the game for a while or are fresh, and give them an opportunity to tell their story to their fan base and to spread their message. And social media has been a great platform for that. So much undervalue with Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. We don't need all that big money and corporations to back us. But let's get into boxing, man. It's been a hell of a week in boxing. I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of things, man. First, that Mike Tyson and Roy Jones fight. What were your thoughts on that?
Okay. I don't know which way it's going. Well, Tyson's one of my favorites. I got into boxing kind of because of Tyson with my grandpa, all of that. Two guys I know, Jet Blackwell and Mike Russell, were sparring Tyson. To me, it just looked like Mike was hungrier. Roy's someone that I like a lot, but it just looked like Roy was kind of going through the motions, whereas Mike, this really meant something to him. But it was just it was kind of like a pickup basketball game in a fist fight form. Like we got to see them play their hits. Roy landed a little left hook thing. Mike showed the peekaboo style. But for me, I couldn't really view it as competition, right? Because I didn't really ever see it jump into competition. I just kind of saw it as high-level sparring and me remembering the past.
I think definitely it was very nostalgic. For me, it was a fight that I always wanted to watch. And even having them in there in at the age that they are in their 50s, Mike being 54 and Roy being 51, I had to use my imagination a little bit and be like, can you imagine if they were in their prime doing this? And they still put on a great show. I was kind of surprised that, Roy was winded after the first round. They had plenty of time to spar, but it definitely looked like Mike took camp a lot more serious. He was in shape. He was in there moving. I think he really just came out the winner as far as a moral victory for him, surviving the life of Mike Tyson, surviving the 80s, surviving the 90s, and still standing at 54 years old doing his thing. I think it was inspiring. But yeah, as far as any competition. I think it was just very nostalgic for the fans, and it was good for boxing. What was your take on it, D?
Oh, I didn't watch the whole thing because didn't that happen the night we was fighting, right?
Yeah.
And then like every time I looked at it, it was like a concert or something. So I and it ain't really my generation hip hop. So I would look, and it looked great aesthetically. Like I was like, damn, they putting on a show, man. I wasn't digging. I didn't recognize none of the artists the couple of times I looked. But so what I did was when I got home, the wife watched our fight on the pay-per-view, right? And then she flipped over and did the Tyson thing. And she was telling me what she seen. And the last Tyson fight, she was live at when he bit Holyfield. And she kind of like washed her hands with Tyson, man. She was like, man, that dude robbed me out of my money. But still nostalgic. I mean, everybody, the amount of pay-per-view buys shows you how huge Tyson was and how crossover he was. Now, I'm sure that reality guy brought a bunch of fucking views and maybe them rappers and shit too. But Mike Tyson is the star of the show. And the thing is, I'm looking at it and I'm like, Mike did better than his last couple fights. He tried to fight. He was throwing shots, but it ain't like he's going to back up and stick and move anyway. Just Tyson being in there, if he tries, it's going to be fun. Kudos to Roy Jones. Like you said, he wasn't in the best shape, but he wasn't a champion because of his his scientific prowess in boxing anyway. He was just so much better athletically than everybody. So he survived. He stood there, he threw punches, man. I like the fact that Mike tried, and Roy tried too. I like the fact that they was like he said, call it a upper echelon sparring or not, but they was trying, man, and that's all you could expect from a 54, 52, however old they were. They could have shit the bed and didn't show up, but they showed up and fought, and I enjoyed it.
You brought up the undercard, Jake Paul. What a knockout! What are y'all thoughts on this kid, Lukey?
I mean, look, I live in reality, and Jake Paul is one of the 5 biggest stars in boxing. Now, the thing about it is, I'm not saying he's one of the 5 most talented fighters. I'm not saying he's one of the 5 most deserving, but I also live in reality and understand there's a lot of girls, random people that tune in that don't tune in to see regular talented fighters. So I appreciate that he respects the game. It looks like he's working hard in the gym. It looks like he's treating it serious. Nate Robinson didn't look like did it. But I just hope that his opportunities present opportunities for young fighters that deserve it as well. Because the only thing that rubs me the wrong way is like a guy like Houston Hitman, right? He's grinding. And then you got Jake Paul who kind of gets to skip the line because he's popping on YouTube. And that's the disheartening thing about it. So I just hope that they could allow his stardom to help a few young fighters get some money in their pocket.
Well, here's my thought on that, right? He had a big social media presence before that, and I think that's his edge. He leveraged that into boxing. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is now he's taking boxing seriously in his mind, and he's training, and he's been doing it. How long has he been doing this? At least
like 2 years.
2 years, right? So he's been in that gym for 2 years. He has the time, he has the money, he has the opportunity to train for 2 years. And he's calling out these guys like Nate Robinson, who's probably never fucking trained. Coach, we've seen NBA players put on gloves, and we've seen what they look like. So get a guy who's never boxed, who's taking a fight on a month's notice, and he's challenging him, right? I get it. He's calling out Jake, and he wants to make the fight. But it shouldn't be allowed. You've been training for 2 years. You're a pro fighter. Let's get someone in there that's going to be on your level. Coach, we talk about this all the time. We don't put people in the ring that as far as even at the sparring level that are not on the same level, that have the same experience, same especially within our team. So how are we allowing, or how is the commission allowing, Paul to get into these rings with these guys that are at a huge disadvantage? And it shows.
Man,
Nate didn't have one bit of coordination in that ring.
Y'all don't want to hear my opinion.
Right, that's when I want to hear it.
All right. Nobody made that basketball player go in there, and the white kid only been fighting 2 years.
Right.
So check this out. I don't know who the Paul kid is, and I don't know, did he have any kind of athletic background? I don't know. He might have played high school football, whatever. But the ball player, who I don't know, I don't recognize him at all. But shows you my level.
He's a great player. He was just a journeyman in the NBA.
Okay, he's a world-class athlete. If you made NBA, you're a world-class athlete. Nah. Or we gonna fault the kid who ain't a world-class athlete, who gotten his ass in the gym and wants to box. I don't know could he box or not. I didn't even watch it. I seen the highlight of the knockout. I don't know how long the basketball player got to train, but, I'm sure he had how long he had before he signed his contract to fight?
A month.
My thing is this, man. That basketball player wasn't in there with a real fighter. So we gonna sit here and say he got taken advantage of? Nah, man. I bet you that basketball player said, I'm gonna whoop this kid's ass, man, because I'm an athlete. Well, now he knows athletes don't make good boxers. That shit is something extra on top of the athlete. Because you think Rocky Marciano could have fucking slam dunk? No. This is the thing. Man. I give him props for getting in the ring. That's what I say. I say that basketball player got in the ring, and when somebody punched him, he punched back. All the props in the world. Ain't nothing wrong with losing. It happens. But I ain't gonna shit on the other kid because he trained and beat him. They wasn't like, who is he? He ain't no. What's his athletic background? The Paul kid.
I don't think he has it.
I think he, like you said, he wrestled or played high school football, but he's not. He never went to the next level.
So how the fuck did he have the advantage other than 2 years?
2 years. 2 years is 2 years.
That boy, he shouldn't have signed a contract and get in there. Look,
2 years, and he's already been under the big light. So you don't think Nate was fucking nervous as fuck and weighing in over his head?
I think you was nervous as fuck. I think you was nervous as fuck when you fought Golden Glove Masters and won. Yeah. So everybody's nervous when I don't care if it's 25 people or 100. The thing is, man, what I'm saying is, same way I'm not going to give that fight no big-ass props for being a fight worthy of pay-per-view. I also ain't going to shit on the fact that neither one of them fighters, man. So we mad because that one kid got knocked out? Hey, it's a fight. Anything can happen, man.
So
Joe Louis been knocked out. Anybody could be knocked out.
So like Lukey said, he's top 5 in boxing right now. So there's a demand for him. Who should he fight next?
Another NBA player. I'll go get another one. Or a football player. Football player be even worse. Listen, man. I know the kid is calling out fighters and shit, but here's the thing. Luke is telling you what the truth is with the business of boxing. And the truth is this: ticket sales. That's right. The truth. Otherwise, platforms like The Zone wouldn't be having these gimmick fights and shit too. But they got to pay the bills. And what makes the most money, we can bitch and complain. Listen, we can be elitists all we want. We all three of us are boxing men. So we can be elitists and be like, can't believe they putting that shit on there. And it's true, but we got to understand why they putting that shit on there. They putting it on because it fucking sells tickets. Man, listen, my whole life, there's always been tough man contests and shit. My uncle, when he got old and retired, bro, used to go to Mississippi to the tough man contest and knock motherfuckers silly for $1,000 just because he was a pro fighter. It's you selling a product, if the people's buying, going, what we got to do is, like Lukey said, find a way to align our fighters with these gimmicks and then tell them they got to take that shine from them by doing a professional fight and showing their ass on these shows. I'm not shitting on them. Will I watch it? No, I still ain't watching. But I'm also a boxing guy too, though.
Does Jake think in his head that he's a pro boxer, a professional boxer, or is he riding his way?
I bet he does. I bet he whoops all his friends. I bet he do. Man, I just co-main evented with Mike Tyson. You gonna tell me I ain't no fighter? Fuck you. If you put him in there with a real fighter, you'll find out quick how he ain't a fighter. But he would be at the same disadvantage that people's pretending the basketball player. The basketball player wasn't in there with no fighter, man. That dude ain't no fighter, bro. They ain't no professional prize fighter. 2 years, he's telling me 2 years of experience. This guy made it to the elite level of basketball. They just athletes, man, throwing punches. Unless I'm totally wrong, and the Paul kid is the fucking second coming of Billy Kine, and I just didn't know it. I'm pretty right, I think. This fucking guy ain't no fighter either. So, man, the dude got knocked out, but he fought. The man wouldn't even did that.
How did this story play out, Lukey?
Which one?
How did this story play out with Jake Paul?
I think he's going to fight a bunch of jiu-jitsu MMA guys. I think if I was a matchmaker, I'd find a jiu-jitsu MMA guy who don't got any striking, who can't throw punches, and then try to put him in with him and then get the knockout. And then you say he knocked out a fighter. And then I'd look for kind of a undefeated, really built-up prospect. And I'd try to get a win over an undefeated guy that was 8-9-0 from maybe like a Mississippi or something, pay the kid good. And now you got a 4-0 fighter that beat a real fighter and beat an undefeated guy. Where's our world ranking? And we just try to fast track him into a big shot.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Butterbean wasn't a thing. I ain't going to sit there and try to pretend like Evel Knievel wasn't a fucking superstar when I was a kid. It's been shit like this, man. Why we, it's if we talking boxing, bro, if we talking boxing, he ain't no fighter. You got to put that shit aside and be like, this is a train wreck waiting to happen. So let's enjoy the fucking view. That's all. And all the ball players want to get in and play fight. Man, I ain't never seen. What's the biggest ball player? For Mark Gaston? No, I knew he was gonna get his ass whooped the minute he fought somebody. Man, these athletes, this shit ain't universal, bro. Boxing is too specific a thing for these guys to just think they're athletes. So that an athlete can do it. So the Paul kid, man, ride this wave, man. He ought to come out to that bitch on a jumpsuit and a motorcycle and call his name Evel Knievel Paul, man. That's what he should do, man, and enjoy the ride, bro. If he getting 1 million people, if 1 million people's buying, if 200,000 of the 1 million people bought that shit to see him, that's just as many people as bought the Charlo show. And a promoter don't give a shit. Buy them pay-per-views. It just don't get me excited, man. I think, when Snoop Dogg is the commentator, you ain't gonna hear shit about boxing, man. You gonna hear some wisecracks and some funnies. And I think we should enjoy it. And I love the fact that they too old to hurt each other, but still ex-elite fighters who, Tyson was throwing shots. Tyson was doing that custom model shift and turning and throwing shots, and Roy wasn't scared. He was in there doing the best he could too. So let Evander come make him $5 million too, man. They better hope Lennox Lewis don't come do it, because nobody gonna win.
I love when Mike started biting his glove. I saw a glimpse of the old Mike.
Damn, I guess I didn't see that.
All right, so let's move on to some real fighting. Tonight we got a hell of a show, man. We've been waiting I've been waiting all year for this fight, man. The return of Errol Spence versus Garcia. It's going to be a true test. I think it's going to be a dog of a fight. I'm rooting for Earl. I like Earl. We stick together, but it's gonna be a hell of a fight, man. What are your thoughts on this,
Luke?
Oh, I just saw Jared Hurd in the background. So
yeah.
But my thoughts on the fight are, I think this is the ultimate for Spence, the chip on the shoulder fight. Elite fighters, you never want to give them that extra motivation. going into a camp, because part of what makes them elite is they find motivation in anything. So to actually be motivated by anything. But there is a caveat, and I want to let the big bad wolf know that he's definitely stuck this into my head as well, that we got to make sure that Spence is the same guy, that wreck didn't change anything about him. And I'm saying his wits, his mind, or any parts of his body, whether it's his legs or arms, which I don't think people are talking about. We got to make sure that body and everything's the same, but mentally and spiritually, I think Spence is such a good competitor. This is going to add motivation. I'm just curious to see if his body will withstand.
He had some serious, per reports, he had some serious hip injuries, and goddamn, that's a vital part of throwing punches and being able to move, man. So I think it's a bunch of questions going to be answered tonight, and I'm such a Earl fan that I want everything to go smooth. I want it to be like he didn't get in the wreck and all that stuff, but the trainer in me that's damn near impossible, man. That's damn near impossible. You can't hit that concrete so hard that all your teeth get knocked out. And we all seen the pictures of when he had to go check in, take the mug shot and shit. And that was after a while from him healing up. So, man, I'm just worried. And then 12 months ago, this happened. And then, so he been losing weight the last couple months because they say he got big. And so this last month of probably 2 weeks a weight cut, man, is taking it. I'm afraid you're losing water weight off a bruised brain. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm being too conservative, and I'm not going to publicly pick Danny. I'm a Danny fan too. This fight is super dangerous, and if Spence is damaged a little bit, this may be a horrible thing about to happen, man. My buddy Jeff said, Jeff Mays, USA boxing trainer, he said, Coach, I like to think that Derek wouldn't put him in the ring. He's been with him developed like I was with Q from the very beginning. I would like to think he would protect him. And I told Jeff, me too. I would like to think that too. So what if he don't know though? What if he's thinking like Earl, I'm good. I'm seeing enough in the gym to do something. Man, I think it's a bunch of unanswered questions. I'm not gonna pick I'm not gonna make a pick on this fight, man, because I'm not dealing. I don't have the information dealing with 100% Dan and 100% Spence. I think none of us is gonna have that until they're in the ring.
Before this accident, before COVID, man, Coach, we used to sit with the team after training, sitting in the office, just bullshitting, talking boxing. We were all huge. We all still are huge Spence fans. But we had his whole career fucking mapped out. Remember? He was about to make all the money on earth. He was going to whip everyone. He was going to whoop everyone at 147, and he was going to go up and weight. We had his fucking career so planned out. We were already talking about buying tickets for the mega fight versus him and Canelo.
All right, bro.
Versus him and Canelo for a title in 5 years or 4 years. The accident changed everything. I don't know. I think the fact that COVID happened worked to his advantage because it put everyone out of boxing. And we saw the fight a couple of weeks ago. And I forget who it was, where you saw what the effects of COVID. People were they were rusty. It was just difficult getting back into the ring. I'm rooting for him, and if he can overcome that accident, tonight's win. If he wins tonight, he not only beats a elite fighter, but he also beats and erases any doubts in anyone's mind as far as what this accident had on him. And we can get back on track on that fight for Terrence Crawford and for maybe a Canelo match later down the years. So
I'm gonna tell you another aspect of this thing that I don't think nobody's really thinking of. Danny Garcia can fight. He could thump. I ain't really seen him hurt like talking about, but people not adding like he lost to Showtime Sean and Thurman, right?
But the Showtime Sean was close.
Right. Now, those losses though were strategy losses. It wasn't like he went in there and got beat up. He fought the wrong fights. Like that, it wasn't like he went in there and got ran over. Now we're talking about a couple-time world champion Danny Garcia lost these 2 fights that I'm sure it eased him up and shit. You think Danny Garcia ain't gonna run across that ring and punch Earl in the mouth and try to take advantage of this thing? And I ain't talking about taking advantage of the wreck. I'm just talking about taking advantage of the situation, period. And just so happened he was in this devastating wreck. It'll shock me if Danny Garcia don't run over there and get in that ass. And this is the thing. Earl is a
slow start.
Earl is a very slow starting fighter. And as skilled as he is, he comes out, he sets his distance, he starts shooting that jab. Yeah. And Danny's gonna come over there throwing 2 and 3 shots at a time. Cause not even about the wreck, but about this is my shot. I gotta get back on top with this shit. Because guess what? A win for Danny Garcia, all of a sudden Danny Garcia, Bud Crawford is a super fight. All of a sudden it's a pay-per-view, because watch how everybody will look back and go, yeah, well, Danny didn't get beat up by Thurman and them. He just fought the wrong fight. Like I'm telling you, I'm thinking that now. I'm going, this, if Earl ain't 100, Earl damn near needs to be 100% to win tonight. That's what he needs to be, man. And how do you be 100% coming from a wreck? Now, that kind of devastating a wreck 12 months ago. I don't know how you do it. And if he can do it, kudos to him. I'm a fan. I love him. I'm rooting for him. He's a Texas boy. I'm going for him 1,000%. I'm a Danny fan too, though. I mean, even Angel grew on me the last couple of years. I used to couldn't stand that guy on the videos, but now he just loves his son, bro, and he's just trying to hype his son and play his part. Is kind of where I'm. But I don't know him. I don't know him personally, but this is a dangerous fight, man. This is a real dangerous fight. I hope Earl comes out on top. He should be the favorite, and if he wasn't injured, I wouldn't have half of these. I think Danny would be climbing the wall to get up there.
Well, and I think that gets to something that I'm thinking about too, is Danny got nothing to lose, and he's too good of a fighter to be going into a fight when nothing, because you don't want a fighter of that caliber saying, you know what, if I show out, even if I lose, the world thinks I'm going to lose, and that's scary.
Right. And them lights ain't going to scare Danny.
No.
Texas Stadium ain't going to scare Danny. He's going to come in there and perform, man. So
I'm scared of that left hook. He lands that left hook.
We gonna see tonight if Earl's shook back. And I get to thinking that, I can't, if I'm going to lose, why lose to a chump? Lose to the best. And guess what? I believe Earl Spence when he says shit like that, because I don't think he's a sucker. I think he believes in himself. I think he's an elite fighter, always was. And when other people didn't believe in him, he believed in himself. So his thinking for this fight makes all the sense in the world to me. But so does what I'm seeing too in the interviews and shit. I tell you what, go watch an interview from the last press conference, just 2 minutes of Earl Spence answering questions. And then go look up the Earl Spence versus Mikey presser or after press conference.
He's slower.
Way slower. Way everything. Now, I could say, with the teeth, maybe he's adjusting to, but that was a year ago. You got the teeth a year now. I'm just saying, I'm worried. And when Cynthia Conte asked Derrick James about rehabbing and everything, and he said, we didn't do no rehab, we rehabbed it. Scared the shit out of me, man, because I'm saying, when you're going down there to the rehab facility and working yourself out, not that Derrick James and them couldn't get him physically rehabbed, because look at him, he looks like $1 million. But those trained medical folk would be saying, he ain't right yet. You know what I'm saying? Like the signs of
the experience.
Yeah. Yeah, you needed somebody to be saying his reactionary time, his thinking time, ain't 100% yet. Because the only thing, if a brain, this is what I know just from experience of boxing. Once your tongue starts getting fat and you're talking through your nose, it's brain damage. Now, before that, when you get knocked out, the only thing that heals head trauma is time. That's it. And you damn sure can't get punched in the head after that. You know, you shouldn't be getting punched in the head for a while. Now, once you pass all the battery of tests and everything, like I'm sure he did for this fight, but we also know Tommy was fighting long after he should. Ali was fighting long after he should. Everybody fighting long after. I don't want to put that bad mojo. Yeah, I'm not putting that bad mojo on the Texas boy. I really ain't, man, because I'm rooting for him. Still rooting for him. Just as the trainer in me, I'm worried. I'm just worried. That's all.
You know, tonight we also got a Houston hometown fighter fighting on the PBC undercard. Miguel Flores versus Eduardo Ramirez.
Shout out Aaron and Bobby.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna put on a big show. This is gonna be a great fight to watch. Make sure you guys tune in to that. YouTube, we are live with Lukey from itrboxing in the ring. We appreciate you coming on. Let's move on, man. What are your thoughts on the whole Canelo legal, victory that he had, or the, being able to get out of his contract with Golden Boy?
I mean, first and foremost, I got to tell you, I'm not a legal counsel, so my opinion's only going to come towards the business. But I mean, I think it's good for boxing fans because we can get more fights. Now we can get a Charlo fight. Now we could get, say, a Quentin Randall fight if Quentin gets there. We can get all these fights. Benavidez. It used to be who works with Golden Boy. Now it looks like it's Canelo, and wherever he wants to take a fight, he can go. And if that's the situation, that's good for boxing because the guy is so darn powerful and has such a big platform and so many people want to see him. In order for the sport to grow so we can all get some money, we need him fighting the most exciting fight so people tune in and like boxing.
You know, Luke, I don't try to convince people of my experience in the game. And it's funny when they want me to convince them, I'm like, well, fuck it then. Maybe I'm wrong. But here's the thing. When that shit first hit the scene, I knew Canelo just wanted out of the Golden Boy thing. And I told everybody, the big deal was Hoyer was being shaded to Canelo. He told the zone he could do this and that and this, but he didn't have that understanding with Canelo, so you can't do that, this, and this. So when Canelo's sitting there talking to the zone, he said, oh, I know who the fucking culprit is. And, of course, Oscar them tried, they playing it off and, like, we built him as a superstar and all that. But it's funny how the minute Oscar's out the way, boom, he's right back on the zone and doing a fight with a top fighter. I said this shit months ago to Manny and to Joe and to all these guys. I'm like, he just wants to he wants De La Hoya out of his pockets because he's doing bad business with him. Now, fast forward. No money, no nothing. I ain't got to pay shit. I ain't got to just get out of my pocket. I don't want to be tied to you. So here we go. Now, it's just how the game works, man. You can't go get this big deal based on something that you and I don't have an agreement, right? Manny wants to be the TV deal for Luke, and I'm Luke's promoter. I signed Luke, and Luke says, "This is what I want, coach. I want X, Y, and Z." Fine. That's what we're gonna do. Let's sign it. Boom. I go to Fresh, and he goes, all right, we're gonna give Luke we're gonna back up the Brinks trucks, but we want A, B, and C. Sure, no problem. You agreed to X, Y, Z, not A, B, and C. So now I'm in the middle. Now I got to play Luke dumb, like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll make it fresh. I'll make it work. And then I'm telling Fresh, I'll make it work. The problem is me, not y'all. Y'all can sit at the table and say, I'll give you A, X, and C. Deal. Let's go. That's the problem, man. And when I heard Canelo said, man, I ain't never even seen a contract from DAZN when they reported this $300 million. I never seen it. My promoter, who's supposed to have my best interest, said, we got this $300 million. Cool. Who don't want $300 million? But then, and Canelo fans ain't gonna, Canelo haters ain't gonna like this. But here's the thing. Canelo is all about fucking legacy, all about fighting these huge fights. And when his TV deal saying, fight fucking Conor McGregor,
Khabib Nurmagomedov,
Khabib the chokeout artist, he's going, I'm fucking Canelo Alvarez, man. Line up the best fighters out here. Let's go. I knew that was going to be a problem. How the hell? You know why? Because the zone saying, you know who's worth money? Jake Paul.
Yeah.
A Jake Paul fight is worth money. Not a David Benavidez fight. Although us boxing guys is fainting at the thought of a Benavidez Canelo fight. They not thinking like that. They thinking dollars and cents. And as far as I know, ESPN Plus is blowing them out the water on subscriptions. So we gotta figure out our North American market. I knew the minute De La Hoya was out the way, the cash cow's gonna do what the fuck he wants to do. And look at him. He's fighting Callum Smith, #1 rated super middle on all the fucking sanctioning bodies. Just like that. It's nothing. No problem. Just like that. It just so happens the guy's English too, so it works out with Matchroom and all them people. Hey, you can't, if you're causing a problem, get out the fucking way, man. That's what you got to do, and that's what they did with Hoya. Now, does Hoya's business have grounds of saying that's bullshit because we built Canelo and shit? I'm sure they do. I'm sure they feel like it, but they released him, didn't they? As far as I know, they released him. You can go do your own thing now. So that was just figuring out some things, I think, man. You can't tell me to fight these gimmicky fights and I'm pound for pound the best fighter on planet Earth. And you want me to go fight Mr. T and fucking the cornflakes, man. I'm not doing it. Yeah, man.
I'm going to take over you guys' podcast for a second. I got a question because what does this do for Golden Boy? Like, because you know what I mean? Like now they're fighters. We got a guy like Blair Cobbs, right? And it's pretty obvious there's a guy named Quentin Randall that's calling out Blair Cobbs. And then that fight becomes more makeable when Golden Boy has money problems. You got a guy like Virgil Ortiz. Does he have to take a bigger money fight so then the company gets more money? Does Ryan Garcia have to jump into the frying pan a little quicker now? That's my question.
That's the answer. I think that's the answer. I think those 5-year plans or whatever they were just cut in half, right? It's go time for Ryan. It's go time. You the man, bro. And guess what? Half of his, I happen to think he's turning into a hell of a boxer now because he's with the right people. But where we was looking for you to come up under Canelo, right? And when Canelo has his final 5-year plan, now we pushing you to be the superstar. Now all of a sudden you got to be the guy. Same thing with Virgil Ortiz. I know a lot of people are high on him. They may have to put him in a frying pan quicker than they wanted to. And as far as Blair Cobbs goes, send me the contract tomorrow, Quentin, to get rid of him for Golden Boy if they want to get rid of him. That's just real. I don't give a fuck when they want to do that.
But what's the collateral damage, though? What's the collateral damage that was done as far as having this play out in the public and Canelo being able to get out of the contract? I mean, come on, Ryan. You don't think Ryan would switch teams if the opportunity presented itself? Or Ortiz?
Yeah, but Ryan probably don't have the contract get out of jail free card that Canelo had. So he's locked in.
So you take it to the public.
I'm guessing. We don't know. Man, listen, I knew they was going haywire whenever that young boy went public and they paid him. I'm like, you can't do that because irregardless, I'm on the fighter side. I want the fighter to get everything he can get. But once you kowtow to that, well, the next fight he's gonna bitch and moan too. And sure enough, I think he did, and they gotta figure out a way. So that's just business. You can't henpeck to these fighters. You gotta pay them what you said you was gonna pay them. If a fighter says, I think I need this, and you go pay him, well, what's gonna stop him from doing that every other time? All right.
And I just
If I was the fight, I would do that every time. Hey man, what? 200,000? I need 350, man. What you talking about?
I just don't ever see this Cobb kid taking a fight against Randall at all.
I mean, that's the fight. I think I've been hearing a lot of fans saying they want to see Blair Cobbs versus Quentin Randall. It's getting a lot of traction on social media. And it just comes down to, is a sanctioning body willing to sanction this fight for a number one contender or an international belt? Because all of a sudden now, if you give the winner a top 5 ranking in a world title, if you don't take it, you look Scary Mary.
Here's the thing. What does Cobbs got now? How many fights, Lou? Do you know?
I'm going to say off the top of my head about 14, 15.
Right. And my kid got 7, and I'll take that fight tomorrow. So, yeah, you're right. As long as it's valuable, dollar-wise, and I ain't playing the old skip-out tactic. You know, I'm just saying, as long as they pay him a decent amount, like he should for the 6 or 8 rounds, whatever they want. Fuck, 10 rounds. My kid can go all night. It don't fucking matter. We just got out the ring with fucking Jared Hurd. We'll walk him however long you want, but it's going to be, they're going to have to make the decision, do we want to get rid of this kid or not? Because he's going to lose. That's just what it is. It's just 1 + 2 = 3, man.
I think that the fear for you guys is Virgil Ortiz and Blair Cobbs are in the same weight class. And to me, that's always felt like an inevitable fight, is you put Virgil in with Blair.
And they close in rank. They close in record. Like there's no upside. There's no upside to Cobb fighting us because what he does get beat. Virgil Ortiz, okay.
He does that cool yell that he does, and he has the hair. He's got that going for him.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the kid sells himself. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't dislike Blair Cobbs. When I was around him when we fought him, I mean, he's putting on a show for the cameras, but that ain't who he is. Whenever we was walking by him, you know, in the stadium and in the room and shit, he's kind of like a clean cut square kid. So. He's putting. I think he was probably wrestling or something when he was a kid, and he's promoting the shit. So I mean, kudos to him. But you know, like I said, Lou, I'll take that fight tomorrow.
Well, I think that what would be interesting about that fight to me is Quentin is the spiritual opposite of Blair, and I just would like to see that fight week because Q seems like he's about his business and he's not about talking. Blair, it seems like, likes to talk to get himself going for a fight, and I feel like both of them, with their temperaments, would piss each other off.
Well, yeah, yeah. It wouldn't be no playing around. Quentin would go in there and drown him. That's just what he'll do and beat him up. So, and I'll respect the Cobbs and whoever his people is, man, they doing wonderful with him. The kid got 14 fights. He's undefeated. He even could say he beat me once. So, all right, good. But yeah, man, ain't gonna happen, bro. That kid's in trouble if they put him in there with Randall. And y'all could take this snippet and put it wherever the fuck y'all want to do. That kid's in trouble. We'll cut his hand. Shave his legs in that fucking ring, man.
I mean, Prince Ranch Boxing, Greg Hanley have done a really, really good job managing Blair's career. They've really they've elevated him. He had a draw early in his career, moved him up in weight, got him to this point, and he's got a big fan base. So, I mean, that's a great job from the manager and promoter side to get him to where he's at.
Absolutely. He's man, look, he's being seen. He's on the shows. Great thing. So we talking about Golden Boy, man. They got, you know, they got who they got. They got Sinisa, right? They got Sinisa and Marlin still. And then they got the Cobbs kid. They got Victor Ortiz. Would you say Victor Ortiz and Ryan Garcia is they top two?
Virgil. Victor is Victor, I think, might be facing legal action.
Virgil. Yeah. I apologize, brother. I did not mean to call you Victor Ortiz. That's what I meant to say. Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz is from Texas, right?
Yeah, he's from I think by San Antonio area, because that's where a lot of the Mexican that crew that went to Robert Garcia's, they all kind of San Antonio.
He's promising. He's got a lot of fans. I know Kelly and my guy over there, they love Ortiz, man, and I watch him when he fights. So I think that's probably their top guy. Him and Ryan is their top future guy. Would you say Ryan's a little ahead of him in popularity? But
I'd say Ryan's like ahead. Even I'm controversial, but I'd say he's even maybe a little ahead in skill because he's kind of had these fights where there's been more pressure. Like Virgil's had similar fights, but when you're fighting in a mellow environment and Ryan's come out and it's been a crowded arena before a Triple G fight the night before where people are more cheering to see him get knocked out than see him win. And when you fight on those stages, the performances don't always go that great, but I rate that higher than just fighting at the Sportatorium at 3:00.
I totally agree with you, man. That's a huge part of this thing. And these kids get them adrenaline dumps early, and sometimes the moment's too big for them. So it's a skill in and of itself. It's a skill to deal with the size of an event, So yeah, I think Ryan's more popular and a little more acclimated to where he's going. Does he win? I don't know. How do y'all see his next fight with the is it Campbell he's fighting?
Yeah, he stops him. 8-9. 8-9. I think he's getting big. He's getting strong. I think he's going to break because Campbell fades in the second half of fights.
And he's getting educated, Luke. I mean, listen, man. I'm fans of trainers too, right? And I'm gonna tell you, man, the two train. I think me and Canelo's trainers the same age, I believe, but he's leaps and bounds ahead of me with developing Canelo and all that type of shit. So I sit there and look at him, and I'm like, this kid here, him and I like that English guy, the young English guy. I don't know how the fuck he knows
Ben Davison.
Yeah, bro. Them two dudes, I tell everybody, them the two trainers to me that's gonna end up, in the annals of boxing trainers. I really see it, man. I think those guys, Ben Davison, I heard him talk a few times, calling fights and shit, and he's seeing things that this dude's he's gonna be developing champions and taking on guys and making them champions the same way I think Canelo's guy is doing, and he's doing with Ryan Garcia, man. I think they the future of boxing as far as great trainer. The next
like the iconic, the Manuel Stewarts and these guys.
Them guys. Right. Them guys, man, they analyze, and I don't speak Spanish. So I know Canelo's trainer by his work, by looking at Canelo, man. I've been a Canelo fan for so long, and he's constantly, it's no secret, everybody knows he constantly went back. You can't whoop a light heavyweight champion and these super middleweights and all that shit when you're a little bitty guy, man, without knowing how to fight. And he's constantly got better, man. And sooner or later, I tell all the people who don't like Canelo, you'll get your wish sooner or later because he's too fucking little, man. He's gonna bite off too much than he can chew. But goddamn, it's a ride on the way there. And he's dominating, man. So, and they'll be happy when some 6'2", 190-pound guy the night of the fight finally clips him, and they'll be excited and shit. And I'll say, yeah, but he was 6'2", 190 fucking pounds, bro. And the Mexicans 5-0, and supposed to be 150 pounds.
Tell him to stop eating all them goddamn steaks and stay at 154.
The money and greatness, bro.
Hey,
money and greatness.
So is it a fair statement to say that Ryan's ceiling is much higher than Virgil Ortiz?
I mean, naturally, yeah, because he's doing modeling and chick. Yeah, like he's doing chick stuff.
Yeah.
All right, I want to move on. I want to talk about some more exciting news that we heard from this weekend. As y'all know, we're big supporters of women boxing. And it's no mystery to anyone that Derek's a huge Claressa Shields fan. What are y'all thoughts on her signing this MMA deal? Lukey?
I'm an MMA guy now, bro. I'm an MMA guy now. I don't know. Luke may have a little background. Man, listen, I don't pretend to know the shit I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. I don't know should she do it. I do know this from the little bit I've trained some MMA guys. It's a completely different world. Everything don't compute, and it's scary to me, like to swap over that, because it's really not one size fits all, man. MMA from the little I know, they throw punches, bro. They don't box. They throwing punches. So you know how valuable is Claressa's skill set to an MMA setting? I don't know. And I know this: every gal she fights gonna run in there and try to tackle her. They ain't gonna stand there and box with her. So I just hope she's doing. And I see she went public on. She's with a MMA coach. I don't know who he is.
John Jackson Winklejohn. They're like Virgil Hunter, or they're like an iconic American MMA crew. They're like iconic. They're not just elite. They're like pioneer. They had like George St. Pierre and all those old famous fighter guys.
Well, fuck it. We going to the moon. Claressa Shields over everybody. Let's go.
What are your thoughts? Lucas?
I'm a big Claressa fan, and I gotta put that out there because, like, I think that people don't. She's in my top 10 pound for pound list, male or female. Like, I have to put in male or female because she's so talented, and people will love to discredit her by saying, "Well, this should be a male pound for pound list." And I'll go, "Bro, you only know 4 female pound for pound fighters. So if we do a female pound for pound list, you're not gonna look at it, and it'll discount her achievement." To me, it's kind of sad because you don't see men that win 2 gold medals, rarely ever. And if they do, they don't have to do something that they didn't spend their whole life doing. And that's what bums me out about this is it sort of says Claressa's saying, I can't make enough to retire just from doing this boxing, or it ain't worth it. And it's disheartening to me that someone that's so great and gave so much to the sport can't just be great and do what she has to do. She has to learn some other nonsense just to get that respect. And it just kind of bums me out because she really is the Muhammad Ali of women's boxing.
Yeah. And when it's over, when it's all said and done, you know, prior to Claressa, you know, I thought Lucia Riker was the best woman I've ever seen box, and not based on her competition, not based on her achievements or none of that. Just based on the eye test, I said Lucia Riker is the truth. And then Claressa Shields came, and I was like, oh shit. And so when she started calling herself the GOAT and all that, I was all on board. I was like, because when it's all said and done, she's gonna be the fucking greatest woman to ever lace up on gloves. And to see this, I'm kind of like Luke. I'm like, man, how the fuck all these boxing people? This is the thing. Women's boxing is on fire, more than it's ever been, more than the coal miner's daughter and Layla and all them. Because, you know, I was around in that era, and that was what you had. They was trying to manufacture opponents for Christy Martin. Then they were trying to manufacture opponents for Layla, right? And Mia St. John, all that. Claressa Shields is in an era where women can fight. She's fighting women that's fucking bad. Marlene
they've gone to the Olympics. Like, they have pedigree now.
Dude, I tell people, you know, fans, which I try not to talk to as much as I can about serious boxing, because, you know, a fan will say some shit like, "Coach, man, that's amateur boxing." No, Snapperhead. We're not talking about the city fucking Golden Gloves, bro. We're talking about the world. We're talking about the Olympics. You got to be the world. When Quentin Randall was rated number 5 at 152 pounds in the world, It's because he's a bad motherfucker, man. So Claressa Shields dominated, and I put it in the intro of our podcast. She whooped the whole fucking world twice, not once. It wasn't an accident. And I'm gonna tell you something. When I watched that first Olympics, when Marlene bronzed, and I think Michaela, did she not make the team?
Michaela was the 2016. It was Queen Underwood, Marlon, and Claressa. That was the first women's squad.
No one was on Claressa. No one. No one was saying, oh, they was all on them other girls, right? Even me, I'm guilty because I don't follow amateur boxing more than just my kids and what they doing. And I'm watching the tournament, so I happen to see everybody. Well, Claressa won that gold medal, and was it England? I think England. I'm like, shit. She earned that shit because they wasn't pushing her. So then she did it again. I'm like, well, fuck. This fucking woman here, man. And so now, in 10 fights, she got 9 world titles. And all them girls can fight. What's my girl, the diva? Forgive me, baby. I'm a fan too. The one who lost to the steroid chick. Y'all know what I'm talking about, man. I'm just having a brain freeze. Anyway, Hammer, all these girls. Claressa beat real fighters, man, and they ain't little girls. These, at her weight, these girls is fighters. So I'm like, y'all, how the hell is she having to go to MMA and shit, man?
Well, here's the thing. Like Lukey said, it is a shame that she can't make the money that she deserves. And I think that's just reflects the gap that we still have to work on and bridge and get more fans to get into women's boxing. And that's why I'm so happy that we try to support women's boxing as much as we can. And we bring them on the show. We give them that platform. But maybe it's a smart move. I don't know. Go over to MMA, pick up a couple fans there, make some money, have control. Pick your opponents strategically, and then it's hard to find opponents for her, right? To get that big payday to make that money. You just said it. She's only had 10 fights, 9 of them being titles, but
man, Claressa was going down to meet Cecilia, man. Cecilia didn't want that fight.
But
she was going down to fight her.
Let's keep it funky. Cecilia messed up the church's money because that fight was going to happen, and then Cecilia leaves to McCaskill, and now I think that Claressa is like, why does it even matter? Because if she beats either of them, it's like people are gonna look like that's nothing. So she's got to do MMA because Cecilia messed up the church's money.
Now I'm not gonna pretend, Lou, that I know Claressa's pocketbooks, and I don't know what kind of money she done made. I know she done bought herself a house and cars and all that stuff, but maybe I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Maybe she's such a competitor. These MMA people, because it's the PFL is the same people that my man Clay Collins is under contract with, PFL. And
they're in problems with Clay because Clay gonna get that check.
Yeah, so but maybe they went up to Claressa and said, here you go, here's a dollar amount. You want it? And she's such a competitor, fucking right. And in the meantime, I'll go box or whatever. Who knows? I'm not gonna pretend like I know, and I wouldn't ask her a personal business. But from the outside, like we're saying as boxing guys, how the fuck is she not making the money to where if an MMA league come to her, the dollar amount they gonna give her is like, nah, I'm over here doing what I'm doing, 9-time world champion in 10 fights. I agree with you. And again, there's probably a whole gang of shit I don't know when it comes to the management of her and the promotion of her. I don't know.
I'm sure she's watching the landscape in the boxing. She's seeing these fucking guys, Paul Jake making all this fucking money and DAZN doing these gimmick shows. And she's got to be sitting back saying, I got to get my piece of the pie. I got to get in on this. And with I'm sure her team, she's going out getting one of the iconic coaches, and I'm sure her team are having these meetings and these discussions to say, hey, listen, let's do it. We'll control we're going to have control of who our opponent's going to be. Let's pick up some fans. Let's pick up some money. And then, when the right fight comes in boxing, we get the payoff.
Are we going to keep it all the way real, too, though? That the other issue about women's boxing is there's a lot of sexism based around how you look. And Clarissa's just not what a lot of guys. Now, I think that she's a attractive, fine young woman, but a lot of people want that sexy girl, the bikini model, the Sports Illustrated girl. Look at Christina Hammer, who she fought. She was starting to get a fan base based off of sex appeal, even though she had a good jab and had fundamentals. The problem that I've always had with women's sports in general, and it's messed up, is a man could be as ugly as they want to be, and if they can knock a guy down, we respect it. But when a woman gets in there, they have to be the beauty queen pageant and the butt-whooping knockout artist, and that just ain't right. And I think that's another problem is Clarissa's just a straight-up beat-you-up, tomboy, tough athlete.
Well, not to give it away, but I'm from the brick jungle. The west side of the river in New Orleans, and she's right up my alley as far as looking. But I get what Luke is saying. The mainstream, my wife will say, she'll say all the time, like with these stars and these singers and shit, right? She was like, Dad, they could do things to they'll be attractive by the time it's over. It just takes money, But I get what you're saying, man. They want the slender beauty pageant style of woman and then be an ass kicker too. The reason why I think they was pushing Mia St. John ended up with a WBC title based on people watching her for the looks of her. But, hey, what you gonna do, man? I think Claressa Shields gonna end up being the best thing going, bro. And I just hope if she goes over there, she does well, and it doesn't
pick up any bad habits. I hope she doesn't pick up any bad habits while she's over there.
Nah, she's a professional, man. I know what you mean. Yeah, because like I said, it doesn't coexist really. MMA guys don't come to boxing and win world titles for a reason.
She come back stepping and leaning forward.
Yeah.
Well, only time will tell here. Once Lukey gets back, I want to talk. We'll end the show with because I guess you watched it. I want to get your review on the Camacho documentary. Was that Showtime?
Yeah, Showtime.
So you had to download the app or something to watch that. You have to have the app.
No, it's on regular. It was on regular Showtime cable. I mean, if you want to do it demand, you got to do it.
I ain't got that money like that, man. Showtime, HBO, Showtime. I can't afford that shit. I got channel 12, 13, and 11. So, what were your thoughts on that Camacho documentary?
I mean, like, with me, the stories are always kind of like every fighter has a good story, right? So when you put money behind, we could find the most journeyman 2-10 fighter. But if you get good cameras and you love the sport or you love hearing a good story, as long as there's something you get out of it, every story is going to be good. And I say all that to say Camacho was always a sensational personality. He had one of the best chins in boxing. There's a story to be had there. For me, Camacho was kind of bittersweet because I grew up kind of looking up to Ray Leonard, my grandpa and all that. So it was hard, even though I can separate myself, when you're a young man, it's hard to change the memory you had. And watching that documentary brings back a lot of my grandpa crying because Ray Leonard didn't have it no more. So that's kind of what I think when I see that, and that's just me being a human being. It's not discounting Camacho, but it's just me being honest about my relationship with boxing. Was growing up, that's who my grandfather didn't like because he thought so much of Leonard.
Yeah, but to be fair, Leonard was 146 at that time?
Well, yeah, but when you're a kid, you don't know it. You just see like superhero crying, and you believe that was. I had a VHS tape that said best boxers in the world, and it had Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson, Ray Robinson, and Marvin Hagler. And it was a 1 hour and 30-minute. Do you remember SLP? So you could get an SP tape or an SLP, and it was a 4-hour tape. But it was real bad quality, but you could watch the fights. It was YouTube back in the day. And that was one of my guys, was watching what he did. So
I haven't watched it yet. I'm excited to watch it, but I'm sort of in the same boat with you, Lukey. Growing up, I was a big Chavez fan, being Mexican. So the whole Puerto Rican versus Mexican, we have that aspect to it. So I was raised to hate him because he was the enemy. It wasn't until later till I got to appreciate what he was, who he was, what he did in the ring, and the excitement that he brought. So I'm looking forward to seeing the documentary. But what were your thoughts on it, D?
Like you said with Child, listen, man, Hector Camacho was a talented, extremely gifted, talented fighter, and pretty much had the star power and salesmanship, like him or not. As a kid, and I think Luke brought it up, as a kid, you had memories, and one of my boxing memories is rooting for Boom Boom Mancini, and if I'm gonna pretend it wasn't because he was another white guy, I'm gonna be lying to you. So, though I'm not Italian, he was the white guy, right? And so I remember not caring about Camacho and wanting the blue collar worker. I don't think a lot of people understand how huge a star Boom Boom Mancini was at one time in this country. There was rock and roll records written about this guy, and so of course I was anti Camacho when he fought Mancini, but then all that went away when he fought Ray Leonard, because I'm the anti Ray Leonard guy, and so yeah, he was 140 years old and Camacho was 130, so it don't fucking matter. I was loving the ass whooping, but I understand the historical in the impact it had, how Ray lost that fight. Now I ain't gonna pretend Camacho versus Ray Leonard at fucking welterweight would have been something it wasn't in their primes, but that documentary just showed, like, how, watching that documentary, how the fuck you thought his story was gonna end. That was exactly how it was gonna end, and he was a wild guy, but then, part of that is what makes a fighter a great fighter, coming from the have-nots, and that's why the Eastern Europeans have taken over boxing, because they coming from the broke down USSR, and these was basically ghettos now and mob controlled places and shit. And these guys are starving, bro, with the communism and shit. Now they took over boxing. So it was the next people. And Camacho was a ghetto guy, man, Spanish Harlem, from the projects, man. He was bound to be, and then gifted on top of that. So I think those guys, he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I think it was a fun ride. I hate to see how it ended. And we had his son on the podcast, and we talked about his dad and how it was coming up with a father like that and the pressure he was under. But it's sad. It's a sad, watching his mother's, heartbreak. It was terrible, man. Anybody with a little bit of compassion could understand how she was feeling, man. And I hated to see him go out like that. I remember when he died and they said he was shot. I was like, damn. Oh, that's how that story is, man. But it was a good documentary. I tell anybody who was a fan or hell, if you ain't a boxing fan, it's a good documentary.
Yeah, it's just a good, like, my thing is, as a fan of boxing, I always want to get the old time stories that the fights are hard to watch. I want them to bust through those documentaries first. Let's get the Ezzard Charles one, the one where I don't really fully understand who he was. Let's preserve some of those. Let's get Ezzard Charles. There's enough Joe Louis, but let's get those ones, and then we can go through because we got to preserve a documentary I'd like to see would be Floyd Sleepy Patterson, because I watched the tape, but I don't really get who he was, and I think that would be valuable because it looks like he was one of the sparks that changed boxing, and it looks to me through watching tape, he was the less powerful Mike Tyson. He had a lot of the moves, but he didn't have the power. And then Tyson was the Floyd Sleepy Patterson remix. You know, he came in. He was the spark. He was what Cus D'Amato kind of always wanted. So I'd like to see that kind of context too. If we're going to touch on these, do the Camachos, but let's get the Sleepy Pattersons.
He and his story is very, very intriguing. If you know anything about Floyd Patterson, from being a ward of the state to his inability to deal with a loss, the shame that came with it. I mean, you're talking about a man who will wear a fucking disguise outside of the stadium when he lose. It bothered. No, seriously, put on a fucking fake beard and mustache so he didn't have to face people when he got beat. That's just deep. That's some deep shit right there, bro. So I'm with you, man. There's and I still don't think there's a definitive. As much as Joe Louis has been covered, it really ain't a definitive documentary, because I listened to everybody talk about the race times and how white people didn't want him to be champion. I'm like, my dad was born in 1923 and thought Joe Louis walked on fucking water. So what are you talking about? And that's an old Irish redneck from North Louisiana, man. I got sent to my room one time for saying Ali with Joe Louis. With no fucking dinner, man. For real. Get your fucking ass in the room. You don't know the. So it's like you hear these things and you're like, man, that ain't how these people look up to this guy.
It's not the full story. At all. It's one person's picture that they want to put in to that experience, but it's not a story.
It was just as many white people huddled around the fucking radio listening to Joe Louis knock people out as there was black people in the hood. It ain't about taking it from them. It's their hero, but I'm saying it was my dad's fucking hero too. You know what I'm saying? He was looking up to Joe Louis and you couldn't say shit wrong. And they really believed Joe Louis didn't cuss, didn't drink alcohol, was married, and they believed in that shit, man. Joe Louis was it. So I would love to see all those things too, man. You're right.
Well, I think Joe with me, the way I view him in history was he's so fundamentally sound. So he steps with his punches. And then he moves. He had that. He kind of was like he's like a well-oiled machine. Like he was just so fundamentally sound, and there was so little effort, but that fundamentals created such tremendous power. And correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, not a lot of guys were really working with fundamentals back then. So he had a far bigger advantage.
Boxing pugilism was mastered in the late 30s, right? And his name was Joe Louis. That's who Ray Robinson wanted to be. Ray Robinson used to carry his fucking bag to the gym. Look it up. Joe Louis mastered boxing, man. And you're 1,000% right, Luke. And it was at a time where tough guys was getting shots, right? My guy could just take a beating till you pass out from beating him, and then he'll knock you out. That shit doesn't work with Joe Louis. Max Baer said, and Max Baer killed a couple men in the ring. And he was about 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". And they asked Max Baer to explain fear. He said, fear is looking across the ring at Joe Louis and he wants to go home early. That's the difference. And Joe Louis was 6'2", 200 pounds. And if you go look up Abe Simon at 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds, go look at the Ambulance out, go look at his sons. Yo, 6'6", AJ Johnson. I know y'all like to say AJ Joshua. I know y'all like to pretend he's a dinosaur and all that. Joe Louis would have fucking murdered him. That shit don't matter. Why? Because he's a fundamental boxer. And he understood distance, range, where the holes were, where to set you up, where to throw the shots, when to throw the shots. And Joe Louis versus Max Schmeling too is probably as perfect a fighter as you ever seen in your life. What he did to that man. And I like to say all these guys, the greats, their best example of fighting on whatever in their career, you got to say that's the best them, and you match them up with other people. And I tell you, on that night, Joe Louis wasn't gonna be beat. I don't care if you put two Max Schmelings in the ring and they could have tag team. You got his fucking ass whooped, bro. You're dead on, Luke. You're dead on. Perfected pugilism, man.
I want to say this. This is something I was looking at over the weekend. I think Roy Jones is the remix of Muhammad Ali. And people get mad at me when I say that, bro, but he brings a lot of the elements Ali brought. That hand speed, the showmanship. Like, to me, I think Ali...
Without a doubt.
if I was alive when Ali was around, it would have felt like Roy Jones felt when I was coming up seeing it.
He's such a sacred guy because of the political implications and what Ali meant to the world all throughout his life. At first, he didn't mean shit. Everybody hated him, right? And then all of a sudden, he went from, man, I cried, bro, in '96 when he lit the fucking torch and shit and ran. I mean, and I actually knew Ali from the fucking Decon commercials, right? And then my dad telling me, you know, I grew and then learning and watching. But so they're so incomparable as far as people and what they meant. But boxing wise, yeah, that's what Roy Jones was. He was a supreme athlete that did everything wrong, but it was right for him. And Ali, the same thing. Ali pulled back, lifted his head in the air, never threw an uppercut, a body shot. He just peck, and he danced, and he said, and it was unfair almost that he could do everything wrong, and you can't do nothing about it. And that's exactly what Roy Jones were. Roy Jones, you can sit there and you map it out. Well, he can't do this, he can't do that, and it didn't matter. It didn't fucking matter because he gets in there and he's too quick, he's too fast, his reflexes is too great. And so in that perspective, they're exactly the same. They're the exact same type of fighter and achieve something that they shouldn't have been able to achieve. They shouldn't have been able to do that because it's not by the rules. It's almost like cheating. They was cheating just with their athleticism. So I'm with you on that, and I'm not a Roy Jones fan. So if I'm a huge Ali fan and not a Roy Jones fan, and I could easily admit that's exactly who he was, Lou. That's exactly who he is. The fucking 90s Ali. As far as boxing ability. Absolutely. Or I could be wrong. The fuck I know.
Well, listen, man, we can keep talking all night, man, but we got to get ready for the rest of the day, man. I want to get ready for this fight tonight. Again, I want to remind everyone to tune in. Make sure you're watching that the Texas boys fight. You got Miguel Flores fighting tonight. You got Earl Spence fighting tonight. It's going to be a great, great show. Lukey, man, we really appreciate you coming on the show, taking the time. Why don't you tell everyone again where they can go find you as far as YouTube or social media? If they want to follow you on the platforms, where do they go?
Just follow me on Twitter, Lukey Boxing, itrboxing, YouTube, and itrboxing.com. That's about it.
Nice.
And Luke, hey, brother, I appreciate you covering my guys, man, doing them interviews and stuff, man. I appreciate you. You know that. We talk off camera, so I appreciate you, brother.
Look, I'll tell you, like I tell everybody, the main currency I run off of, obviously I have to make money to live, but the currency I deal with is respect. So if there's respect and trust, and I get along with people and I can tell their intentions are well-meaning, that goes further than money with me. Because I function off of respect, and I function off of if people are really trying to do something to get going. And I've always had, like, people kind of click up on me, say that, like, oh, he ain't a good guy. And then I'll go somewhere and you'll get one or two people that'll be like, oh, well, you can't deal with him. But then 5 or 6 guys will be like, well, he's a pretty good guy. He's not like those stories say. But it's because you'll get 1 or 2 people seeing that I'm self-motivated. I don't, and this is the wrong thing with me. And this is why I love supporting little fighters. I'm not trying to be everybody's friend. Right? Because the minute everyone's your brother and all that, that's the minute you start having problems. I'm very picky about who I want around me. And if someone treats me bad, I'm not saying I'm going to treat them bad back. And now you guys are saying, would you just leave yet? But you got me rambling, so I'm going to keep rambling. Is when someone treats me bad, I'm not going to just sit there and take it sometimes. I'll be like, well, you're a jerk too. And they'll be like, well, that's the ESPN guy. I don't give a damn. Right? So then that'll rub people the wrong way sometimes. But I say all that to say, I know what it feels like to be the underdog. I know what it feels like to have people be like, oh, well, you guys don't get the clicks, so I'm not going to do the interview. And I don't want people to feel that way because I had to fight through all that kind of punk ass stuff. So I love doing stuff with your fighters. And it's no issue because I function off of respect, and I function off of helping these young fighters not go into the streets, not do the wrong things, helping them stay self-confident, believing in themselves, because I know that some of these guys, they're real close to having a pistol in their hand and just being in the world, and we all got to deal with it. So that's another thing of what I'm doing. So,
Well, we appreciate you because even as a podcast, Coach and I were partners, so we got the management company, we got the gym, we got the podcast, and we trying to do everything that we can to be successful and give that platform to everyone who doesn't necessarily have the spotlight on them. And so when we hear people who have the same intentions and the same motivation, it's motivating for us because we see where people like yourself are at now, and we look at it and we're like, okay, well, we just got to keep grinding until we get to that point. So we appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us, giving us your insight, and much success, much continued success, my man.
It's all love. I just want to tell people, Gabriel Flores Jr., he's coming up. He's a really good fighter. Shakur Stevenson, obviously. Yeah. And Quentin Randall, man. That guy's really good.
Look where I'm at, Lou. You can read that?
Let me see. That says, home of world champion Shakur Stevenson. So you're at Shakur's house.
Yeah. That's a bad motherfucker.
Well, man, I'm telling people, man, Gabriel Flores, who's a little under the radar, people aren't giving him his props yet, but in due time, because I think he was number 2 in the world, should have been number 1. That ain't no accident. People go, He's got amateur style. Wait until he gets used to the pros. It's like people are going to go, oh, my God, he got good overnight. No, he's been good. You just didn't see what everyone that was smart was seeing. Shakur is already a bad man. He's probably one of the top 3 fighters in the world, but you just have the resume to fully say it.
Right.
And Quentin, when he gets that Blair Cobbs fight, man, all of a sudden people are going to have his name in his mouth like hamburgers and all that stuff.
Yes, indeed, man. I appreciate you, brother. Let me get out of here, man. We could have did this for a couple more hours, man.
Well, that's a wrap.
Next week.
Yeah, go ahead.
Next week, man, I got Christine Lopez, man, from In the Ring with Christine, USA Boxing. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Yeah. She's going to come on too, man. So next week, y'all tune in.
Any last words, Big Dog Lukey?
Shout out to Houston, Texas. Shout out to the whole management, gym, and I appreciate you guys for having me on. It's been an honor. Big fan of your show.
Appreciate you.
All right, brother.
All right, we'll catch you. Look at that. You like that right there? Fresh, coach. It's what we do.